everybody, to be on with Amanda Medicare podcast. Today we are filming our second special guest Fireside Chat episode. I could not be more excited to introduce you to this wonderful human being. Her name is Melissa Murphy. She has started and is the CEO of Aging Advocates and some other businesses now that incorporate with that. So we're so lucky to have Melissa in our community. Here in Central New York. At the end, we're going to talk about ways that if you're not in our area, you may be able to find a resource like what she provides. But I'm going to look this way and have a chat with my good friend, Melissa. Hi, thank you for coming in.
Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you were able to do this with me. So I'll just start with the easiest question, I guess. Tell us about Aging Advocates, how you got involved in that space, and what you guys do.
Thank you. I founded Aging Advocates about 5 years ago now. After working in senior housing for many years, I found that I kept hearing the same conversations over and over from these families who were completely overwhelmed, completely underprepared to navigate the challenges that come with aging. And I just had a light bulb go off one day that, there's got to be a better way. This is something that's affecting every demographic. It doesn't matter how educated you are, how wealthy you are, how you grew up, it's affecting everyone. So I just wanted to find a better way for these families to be able to age better without it essentially tearing their families apart and becoming this really traumatic situation that in some cases it really doesn't need to be that way.
That's great. I know the few experience that I've had with, some clients or even family members as they approach these kind of decisions and needs, it really can be stressful. Mm-hmm. So to have an outlet and someone who's handling and tackling and solving these problems all day is great. So tell us a little bit about the services that Aging Advocates provides.
Yeah, so I started out by myself and quickly realized that there was many other professionals in our field that wanted to be a part of our mission, which is truly amazing. So we have a team now of all different areas of expertise, ranging from nursing to physical therapy to senior housing specialists, dementia specialists. And so we basically take each family in a very individualized and unique approach. So firstly, what are the immediate needs? What are their goals? And then we look at the entire dynamic of the family situation, the finances, the insurance, of course. And then we help figure out what are the best options available to meet their needs, whether it's aging in place, which we know the majority of folks want to stay in their homes, right? So that's usually what we're helping them figure out. But that's not always an option. If they need senior housing, if they need long-term care, or unfortunately, when they are in a crisis, they can come to us and we help figure out the whole situation.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I'm sure the clients are just so relieved to have you step in and handle those really complicated conversations and decisions.
Yeah, I always feel bad when I get a new call and I say, "How are you today?" Probably not good because most people are not calling us because it's the best day of their life, right? They are usually in a really hard place. But we do hear all the time, "Oh my gosh, I wish I called you sooner. I wish I knew about you before. I wish I knew about you 10 years ago when I was going through this with my parent." It's a really stressful time for people. And unfortunately, because it can be so traumatic, they aren't talking about it after it happens to them.
Right.
And then it's like this vicious cycle continues of people not even being aware of what the future can look like and how to maybe prevent some of these things from happening, because it is so hard to talk about.
What would you say is like the most common, so you talk about that phone call coming in, what are they typically asking for help with? What's the most common, I guess, crisis or problem that you're helping people fix?
Mom fell. She broke her leg. She's in the hospital. What do we do now? Okay. They're saying she needs 24-hour care. I'm working. I have children. Her house has 3 levels. We don't have money to pay for 24-hour care. What do we do? That's probably the most common call. It's like a crisis and we need immediate help. Otherwise, it could be a new diagnosis, maybe of dementia, of Parkinson's, things that are progressing and the family knows it's not going to get better and we need to prepare for the future.
Okay.
So we would come in and help educate them on all of the options, what it could look like to remain home independently for as long as possible. And we try to put a plan in place for them.
Okay. It sounds so difficult, but I know you do such a good job at it. So
it's, people are very unique. Everyone
Absolutely.
has their individual needs. So it's every day is a new day and a new challenge. And I think our team, what makes us strong is not just our expertise, but our desire to be problem solvers.
Yeah.
So it's almost like an investigation in the beginning, trying to uncover what the real needs are and all sorts of dynamics between the family members.
Yeah.
It's never the same thing every day, that's for sure.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, on a smaller scale, helping someone pick a Medicare plan is individual to their specific needs, but usually just dealing with them and maybe a spouse or maybe an adult child, or just they're making those decisions for themselves. So to be able to work through all those family dynamics and see everyone get on the same page is probably a lot more work than it might seem like.
I always say, that sibling that maybe you didn't have the best relationship with growing up, now that your parent is needing help and there's power struggles, money struggles, emotions, that dynamic that existed 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it's still there.
Yeah.
It's not going away, and it could actually be worse now that all of these outside factors are coming into play. So it can definitely be a challenge, and we like that we can take that burden off some of the children or the parents and be that outside professional, unbiased support system there.
So how does somebody engage with you? Like, I obviously call you and we'll talk about the contact information, but so they have the crisis, what about like pre-planning? What would you recommend for people who are thinking, maybe I need this service, but I'm not exactly sure if I do or how I go about it?
So I'll be honest, the call that I don't like is that crisis, right? Unfortunately, that is the most common call. But when we get the call from a senior themselves wanting to be proactive, I mean, the people in our office, they hear me cheering. And I'll skip down the hall. I'm so excited because we don't get those enough. And that can be the most powerful game changer for someone's future.
Right.
Nobody wants to go to a nursing home. Nobody wants to have to leave their home. But it takes a little bit of pre-planning. We obviously can't control everything, every diagnosis, but there's so many common mistakes that people make that ends up taking their decision-making abilities away, taking their independence away. So when I get a call that somebody wants to be proactive in their aging journey, that's the best call. And I'm slightly optimistic that this generation is getting more proactive. I think that they have more access to information. They're seeing what their peers have gone through, and they say, no, I don't want that for myself. So I am a little bit optimistic that we are shifting here.
That's great. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And obviously education and making people aware of some of the things that they're going to face as they age might make it easier to just start a little bit sooner. I mean, is there too soon?
No, never too soon.
Okay.
People ask me that all the time. Well, when should we start talking to you? And of course, it's never too soon, especially if you have a family. You want to be having these conversations with your parents, with your loved one. But if you are somebody of the age where you're starting to look at Medicare, I think that is the perfect time to open up that dialogue. So whether you are getting Medicare for yourself and now you can be having the conversation with your children, your loved ones, or maybe you're also going through that with your parents. So it's all going to come together now. You're seeing what it looks like. So that's really the perfect time to engage with your financial advisor, your estate planning attorney,
Right.
your Medicare professional, and bring in an aging life care professional, ideally, because they're the ones that are going to know what do all of these things look like in the real world.
Right.
You know, we can talk about it on paper all day long, but if you don't know, what does it actually look like if I want to hire somebody through Medicare, through Medicaid, what is actually available in my area?
Right.
And nobody knows that other than the people that are actually working in it, boots on the ground, day in and day out, because these things change all the time.
That's a great point. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. One pet peeve I have is when somebody will go on the social media and they'll say, my mom needs a nursing home. Which one should she go to?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh gosh, please, please, please don't ask for advice on the internet.
Right.
Because number one, they don't know your whole situation. They don't know your medical needs, your finances, all of those unique needs, right? But also, just because it was the best nursing home 5 years ago or even 5 months ago doesn't mean anything today.
Right. And availability and what insurance participation, like all those things are important factors.
Exactly. So you're just setting yourself up for more stress, heartbreak sometimes.
Yeah, because you get set on, oh, I'm going to go to this place because my sister went there, and then it's not an option.
Or people will make you feel so unbelievably guilty. Say there isn't a possible way for you to keep your loved one at home and you do need to go into a skilled nursing setting. Nobody wants that, right? So the only thing that makes that even worse is now you've got this guilt of everybody on the internet telling you these horror stories, when in reality that might be the best option for somebody and it could be the worst option for somebody else. So just be careful with who you're getting advice from in these really delicate situations.
I think anyone who like really specializes in helping people with a particular, area of expertise, having people go on the internet is the worst thing you can do.
And don't do it. It's so easy, but don't do it.
It's not perfect for you just because it might have been good for your best friend or whoever.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the individual aspect of what you do is really incredible to me, because I imagine it takes a lot of listening, a lot of compassion, a lot of knowledge. So that's great. Trying to think, is there anything I didn't ask that you think people should know, or?
Well, since we are with the Medicare expert, I do always like to bring up that it's important to know what your Medicare covers when it comes to in-home care, assisted living, right? There's a huge misconception that, okay, mom's got Medicare, so she should be able to move into this assisted living, right? So it's important to know that Medicare doesn't actually cover senior housing. And home care, it's very minimal, like you said, usually after a hospitalization. For a short
after.
Yeah. So important to know what Medicare does cover, and more importantly, what it doesn't cover, so that you can plan accordingly.
I agree 100%. I think that there's a tremendous amount of misconception about how little Medicare actually does help with a long-term, healthcare scenario. It's really, Medicare is rehabilitative short-term, and we talked about that in episode 1. When we went through the particulars of Part A and Part B. But yeah, I think sometimes even that can be crushing, right? Because you think, oh, this is going to cover everything that I need, and it won't. So do you do a lot of work helping people explore the Medicaid space, or is that?
Yes.
I mean, I find that like horribly confusing. A lot of paperwork, a lot of documentation. It really is a process, like understatement process.
It is. So another huge misconception is Medicare versus Medicaid. So it's so important just to know the difference, right? So everybody qualifies for Medicare at age 65.
Or sooner.
Or sooner. Not everyone qualifies for Medicaid. So Medicaid in this space that we're speaking of is qualified usually based on your asset level. And there are a million different confusing factors that go into that, which is why we always recommend that you are speaking with an estate planning attorney specifically.
Right.
Okay. So again, somebody that specializes in that area, because that's always changing also. So it's like going to your primary care for oncology. You're not going to get that very specific expertise. So an estate planning attorney is huge. You need to understand if setting up a trust makes sense in your specific family situation with your finances and to know how you qualify for Medicaid if you want to, and then what that actually would cover.
Yes.
So it's very confusing, but it's so important to not wait until the last minute. You always hear the commercials for, going into a nursing home and that 5-year look back. That is a really big deal. So it's just important to have the information so you can decide what is best for your family. But yes, navigating Medicaid, that is something that we help with regularly because most people don't have unlimited funds.
Right.
So if you have to go into a nursing home at some point, most likely you will need to access Medicaid in order to pay for it.
Sure.
So very important to understand how that works.
That's a complicated process. So having someone in your corner to help you with that is incredible. So the sense that I'm getting, and I've known you for a little while, and I know the wonderful work that you do, so I kind of knew this, but I would explain to you your role, obviously the listening and all that stuff. You're kind of like quarterbacking all of the different professionals that you should have in your team to make sure that you're getting that optimal, result that you're hoping for. So you're really working with everybody to put things together and make it as stress-free as possible. Not completely, I'm sure. But
it's very stressful, but yes, we do try to eliminate the stress where it doesn't need to be, right? You don't need to know every service available. You don't need to be the expert in this field. That's what we're here for. You will waste a lot of time and energy trying to figure it out on your own. That's for sure. But yes, you bring up a great analogy there. I like to say we're your general contractor of all the aging services. So we won't even know everything, but we will know who is the best professional in each area. We try to give 3 options if there are 3 options available for each area so that we can make sure that our clients find that expert that aligns with them, with their values, whether it is the attorney, the Medicare professional, doctor. Home modifications, that's a huge thing right now. We do have some professionals that we work with regularly, and we know who's trustworthy, who's going to follow the codes, who understands, where a grab bar should go in a home. You can't just call someone off Craigslist and expect them to know these things. No. So we do guide our clients through all of those.
That's great.
All those areas.
So a common question that you probably get is there a fee for you to help me? How does this work?
Yeah, so pros and cons. We are a private service, which means you do have to pay to hire us. However, we work only in the best interest of our clients. So we are not answering to an insurance company. We are not taking any referral fees. So anything that we are recommending for our clients is in their best interest only.
Okay.
So again, pros and cons, we can't help everyone, unfortunately. Not everybody can afford to hire us, but if they can't, we are still giving them some sort of direction, pointing them into a service that may work for them. Okay. And then another reason why I'm doing as much education as I can so that you can be aware of these programs without always needing to engage our services directly.
So we're lucky to have Melissa in our area. So if you live in Central New York and you're dealing with some of those, decisions and trying to figure out what you need to do, obviously her and her team are a great resource for us here. No one else can have her. So if you don't live in Central New York, how far does your reach go? How about that?
We're primarily in Onondaga County and the surrounding counties right now. We do a little bit out in the Utica area, but depending on the case, we can do some things in all areas, right? Some things are just more consulting. Okay. But if it is a case where they need the local resources, if there's another aging life care professional in their area, we are going to connect them. Okay. So we are part of what's called the Aging Life Care Association, and that is national. Oh, great. So wherever you are, you can go right on aginglifecare.org and put in your zip code, and you will get a list of any of the other aging life care professionals in your area. Wonderful. Okay. So I hate to bring all this good information and just say you can only get help like she provides if you're here. So hopefully the podcast is going to reach far and wide. So tell us that email or that website address again. Yep. aginglifecare.org is the website for the Aging Life Care Association, which is national. Okay. And how would people connect with you? with us, you can call if you are local. It is 315-469-1000.
Okay.
agingadvocatescny.com. And we are everywhere. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and more to come.
Maybe soon coming to a podcast near you.
Yes, I hope so, because
You'd be great at it.
my mission really is to get this conversation started.
Yes.
So beyond us helping people in the crisis and boots on the ground, the conversation is universal, and that is what we need to be having. There is nothing good that comes from waiting until you're in a crisis to figure this stuff out. So even though it's not easy, it is worth it. So I'm hoping that people do find some empowerment in the knowledge here.
I think that they will. I really appreciate the work that you do. I know it's not easy.
Back at you, girl.
Thank goodness for you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you came in and chatted with us. So
you.
if you have questions, maybe you're in a crisis, maybe you're trying to avoid being in a crisis, it's never too early to reach out and be proactive about some of the decisions and services and supports that you're going to need as you age. So reach out to Melissa and her team. And thank you for listening to our first in office Fireside Chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to another episode of the I'm with Amanda Medicare podcast. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Also, please leave a review, as that helps me reach more people that can benefit from this podcast's content. If you have questions or topics you want me to cover for a future episode, please email them to info@imwithamanda.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Like any good industry, we do have compliance requirements, so here's my disclosure. We are not a government agency. We are licensed insurance agents who discuss insurance programs such as Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplements, and Medicare Part D prescription drug coverage. Any specific plan information I provide is limited to the plans I offer in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov or 1-800-MEDICARE to get information on all of your options. Thank you.